they are supposed to drive into the station slowly, keep their eyes open, step on the brakes, and it doesn't always happen the way it should, and people are run over. It's a terrible tragedy.
If you're injured on the subway in New York City, do you know how to get help? Well, we're going to find out right now, because that's what we are going to ask the lawyer. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and my guest is New York City attorney Michele Mirman. I want to remind you right off the top, if you'd like to ask Michele questions about your specific situation, all you need to do is go to AskTheLawyers.com. There's a button in the upper right-hand corner that says Ask a Lawyer. You click on that, and it'll walk you right through the very simple process. Michele, it's good to see you again. Thank you for helping us answer our questions.
Good to see you too.
So we're talking about subway accidents in New York City. How big of a problem is this? Does this happen often?
Unfortunately, yes. There are 4 million riders a day in New York City on the city subways, and there are numerous ways people get hurt and do get hurt on a daily basis, many times not their own fault.
What are some of the more common accidents, injuries that you've seen?
Well, unfortunately, people do fall on the tracks and get hit by trains. Many of the platforms are very narrow. The subways can be crowded. People fall because of overcrowding. Sometimes people fall because they're pushed. Sometimes they fall because they're sick and they do tumble onto the tracks. And the motor operators are supposed to be trained to keep their eyes open for this occurrence, because unfortunately it does happen often. And they are supposed to drive into the station slowly, keep their eyes open, step on the brakes, and it doesn't always happen the way it should, and people are run over. It's a terrible tragedy.
So what's your advice? Someone's injured on the subway or on the rail car. Obviously get the medical attention, but then what's your advice?
Well, clearly they should contact a lawyer as soon as possible. When you sue the subway system in New York City, it's a part of the municipality. There's a 90-day requirement for filing a notice of claim, which is very, very short. Mm-hmm. That's 3 months. In addition, a lawsuit must be started within a year and 90 days. In addition to that, you want to have an investigation done very quickly. You don't want to delay. You want to get all that evidence as soon as you possibly can. And that's really where the lawyer steps up to the plate and makes sure that all of that work is done.
I would imagine if you wait too long, that part of that becomes much more difficult, yes?
Absolutely, much more difficult.
What are some of the common reasons for these injuries that are caused by someone's negligence? Is it always operator error, or what are some of the other reasons that you've seen?
Well, a lot of times it's maintenance of the subways themselves. People fall down the steps are not properly maintained, the water leaks from the ceilings, the steps are broken, people trip and fall. In addition, I'm sure you've heard there have been railway derailments, subway derailments. People are injured because of that. That's a maintenance problem or an engineer problem. They go too fast. And those are some of the big reasons that people do get hurt.
You kind of touched on it a minute ago, but if someone ends up on the tracks, whether they've pushed or they got sick and fell or whatever it is, that not necessarily is just their fault, or maybe it is their fault, but there could be other factors involved, yes?
Correct. And then it's for a jury to sort out. A jury will hear all the evidence about how the station was maintained, how the train was driven, what happened to the particular passenger, and make a decision about how much fault is with the subway system and how much fault, if any, is with the subway rider.
And explain to me the difference, or is there a difference between suits that may be against the New York City Metro Transit system versus commuter trains and that sort of thing? How do those compare?
So there are different train systems that go through New York City. There's the New York City subway system itself, run by the New York City Transit Authority. There's the MTA, there's the Long Island Railroad, Amtrak. Each one is run by a different authority, and each one has to be sued separately.
So that can add to some complications, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. And again, that's why you need a lawyer to sort out the differences and make sure that you are suing the appropriate entity.
What if the person injured is a tourist? What's your advice? Should they wait till they get home and talk to a hometown attorney, or is it better to have an attorney in New York City? What's your advice there?
Absolutely, you need an attorney in New York City. New York City attorneys are going to know the courts, the law, the people involved, how to start the lawsuit, how to keep the lawsuit going, all the correct statutes and limitations. And again, New York City, subways are not only difficult to navigate, but the courts also are equally as difficult to navigate.
Lots of really helpful information, Michele. Thank you for making some time to answer our questions.
You're quite welcome. Thank you very much, too.
That's going to take care of this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been New York City attorney Michele Mirman. I'll remind you, if you'd like to ask Michele questions about your specific situation, head over to askthelawyer.com. Click the button up at the upper right corner of the screen that says Ask a Lawyer, and you can ask your questions right there. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with Ask the Lawyers.